Good afternoon. Welcome to sunny, we'll say, Phoenix, Arizona. It's going to be 100 by the end of the week.
Good grief.
Unfortunately, you guys can start making fun of us again. We've been laughing at the people with the snow. But so needless to say, we set up a live fairly fast on Netradyne. Press release went out. And everybody, well, not everybody, a lot of folks said, hey, can we get some more details? So invited from some of our safety friends with us. So can you start by introducing yourselves?
Sure. Jules Miller, VP of Safety here at Swift.
Awesome. Yeah, and happy to be here. David Tillman, I work with our safety, driver development, and recruiting teams. So.
Excellent. So we got this new, great, exciting camera system that is wonderful. And, first of all, let's talk about what is it and why did we change?
Yeah, absolutely. So as the press release went out last Thursday, I believe, and then we had an internal communication go out to our drivers. So what is it? Netradyne's a different provider in the telematics space. The camera and the hardware we're going to be deploying in our fleet is the D450 model, which is a 3-lens camera.
So much better than the other one.
Well, I
or
think,
just newer.
Yeah, it's just a different technology, right? So, just kind of like anything, you look at the way we've spec'd our trucks, right? And collision mitigation, lane departure, and all these other different things. That technology evolves rather quickly. Same thing in the telematics space is, all this technology evolves. And this is just kind of the most cutting edge technology. It's machine vision and artificial intelligence. And we'll go into what that means a little bit more, but meaning, the camera itself is reading stop signs, is reading speed limit signs, and that is different than the current solution we've had.
So kind of a little more proactive than reactive, because our old system was reactive with our Bindex system, things like that.
Yeah, you want to take that?
Well, the old system I'd say was, kind of just more event triggering, and a person would have to go through and review those, and then it could take some time to get back to our folks and our drivers to review together. So I'd say this one is a little bit more, it's just more in tune to what's happening out there. And it does a much better job at recognizing positive driving behaviors as well.
Yeah, and I think that's important. We'll hit on all the different positive recognitions it has, but Jules, myself, some of the other safety leaders, we look at the voice your choice comments, and over the years, I think one of the main things we had seen was, hey, the camera never sees all the great things I do, and hey, we knew and we know our drivers do so many great
Excellent
things on
drivers.
the road. Yeah, and so with this being kind of machine vision, artificial intelligence camera, it's able to identify a lot of those safe driving behaviors. Somebody cuts you off, creating space, moving over for others, right? Coming to a complete stop X number of times in a row and things like that. And we're really excited about the ability to be able to have more phone calls outbound to our drivers that are talking about the great things they're doing out there.
And it's an outward facing, right? We're not looking inside.
Yeah, that's correct. So the camera does not look at the driver. I know there were some comments about, is it reading my eyes and things like that. No,
it's going side to side though, right?
Yes, there's 3 lenses. There's road facing, there's out the passenger side, there's out the driver's side. And to make that even more crystal clear, we will put out on the portal exactly what that looks like. We actually had a couple drivers that have tested this post that, so I think a lot of folks already have an idea. But yeah, we'll be pushing that out as well.
Will that lens still be facing inward? Because I know that was one of the questions. I know there's like a cap to put over it or something.
Yeah, so they'll come equipped with, there's the inward-facing camera, it's just a part of that piece of equipment, but it comes equipped with a cap over the inward-facing one, so it'll come with a cap on it.
And one of the questions I saw was, if I want to be double just secured, can I put a piece of tape over that cap?
Yeah.
Okay.
Make sure it's secured. Why not? It's already
Perfect.
capped.
But it's important to note too, the functionality we have chosen for our fleet, even if that cap wasn't on, there's no inward functionality. So you can have the cap on there if that's important to the driver, but that is actually an inactive camera for our solution.
And we sure as the heck don't have anybody just monitoring.
No, and it's still similar in that it's going to trigger events for us to review. It's not like a 24/7 live stream that somebody's just got a camera pulled up in the office and they're like watching or anything like that. It's still going to trigger events based on, speeding, following distance, the same kind of parameters. It just does it in a little bit different way with the AI and machine vision. Yeah.
Sounds good. So why are we changing now? Considering the state of where we're at, why change?
Yeah, I think there's a few reasons. So I said we hit on, we want a solution that is more proactive in looking at positive recognition and some of those things. But, we are committed to investing in safety technology. I think we've shown that over time. And, hey, we're not going to shy away from that. I think we definitely believe we have the best drivers in the industry. And from our standpoint, we are investing in tools that help continue to develop those skills and kind of produce the best practices in the industry. This, again, is the most cutting-edge technology. It does a phenomenal job at identifying some different areas of risks, some different areas of driver development and coaching opportunity, and that's really what's facilitated the investment.
And we really just haven't invested just in a camera system. We show that in our trucks too, right? We're getting a lot of safety features in our trucks, things that just make us a safer company overall.
Yeah, absolutely.
Perfect. So how will this affect their driver performance bonus? Because for the line haul drivers, they have a driver performance. What does that look like?
Yeah, so it's actually pretty similar. We're going to factor the score in just the same way that we do today as the same part of the bonus program. Score works a little bit differently. I'll talk about that for a little bit if that's fine.
Sure, no, that's great.
Score actually goes basically from 0 to 1,000. 1,000 is a perfect score, and you actually can get higher than a perfect score. I'll talk about that in a second. But basically we set a threshold, and we want you to be above the threshold to qualify for the bonus. Now the good part is there are also a lot of, like we talked about, positive reinforcement. There are a lot of things that you can do to actually earn essentially bonus points. Either get yourself above 1,000, or if you have a bad week one week and you need to make up some points to get yourself eligible for bonus, you have an opportunity to do that either just through successful good driving behaviors or through some of the positive recognition things. And I think one of the key things about Netradyne that I love versus our old provider is, especially we had a lot of drivers giving feedback about getting cut off by motorists in traffic and getting dinged for a following distance event. Whereas this camera, there's actually a positive recognition piece. If somebody cuts you off and you create space, you actually get bonus points for that improve your score because you've recognized a hazard in front of you and created space. So I think that's one great thing. And the other great thing too, I saw some comments on some of the posts that we had about some of the audible alerts, the in-cab alerts that this camera does. And so if it recognizes that there's somebody in front of you and your following distance is too close, or you're speeding or something like that, it'll actually give you an audible alert in the cab when that happens. And if you interact, if you increase your following distance, decrease your speed, do what you need to do after that audible alert, it actually doesn't generate a video at all, doesn't contribute to your score, and so kind of it gives you an opportunity to self-coach before that even ever comes to the office for us to have a conversation there. So I think it puts a little bit more of that control back into your pocket and gives you the opportunity to really just focus on improving your driving behaviors and improving your score overall. So I think there's a lot of positive.
Yeah. So it's kind of like David's golf score. The other one was you wanted it to be lower, but it was really higher now.
Yeah.
So
it's a pretty good
used to
analogy,
be
actually.
20 or under. Now we're going to be a larger number, which we're defining that exactly what that green score is now. So that'll be coming soon.
Yeah, and just a couple more points to make on that too. Number one, just like we did when we rolled out Smart Drive 5-6 years ago, all this, we're going to be very transparent about this. You will see what contributes to the score and how that equates, as well as the positive recognition, things like that. But what I want to clarify on, in today's world, for the Smart Drive score, it's your score on the last Saturday of the month, because Smart Drive is a little bit different, where it looks at kind of a rolling 4 weeks, at least our score settings. With Netradyne, we will get the full month, so it'll be locked into that full score. But you'll be able to, as a driver, as a driver leader, as a fleet leader, you could look at just today's score by itself, or just this last week's score, any period of time, right? But for the bonus, we're going to be looking at that month, and it will be truly your score from the first day of the month through the end of the month.
And you'll be able to see what's contributing to that score, like
Right.
what types of events are making up that score. Yeah.
Well, and I had this question, but we're also getting some questions in which, if I forgot to say, please drop questions in. We'll answer as many live as we can. But can you mute that function that's giving you that feedback?
The audible alerting?
Yes.
For company drivers, the audible alerting function will be turned on.
Turned on.
Yeah.
Can owners mute it if they choose to?
Owners will have more autonomy over the settings of their camera system.
Okay.
Yeah.
For the month that I'm half in our other vendor and then half in this, or it could be days, how will that work as far as my driver performance bonus?
Yeah.
We'll have a grace period there for that first month, so it won't necessarily consider either score. That specific metric of the bonus program will just be grandfathered essentially for that month that you switch.
Yeah,
So
you'll
get a little bit
still
of
still
time.
need to hit the accident, meaning no accidents that month.
6,000 miles minimum.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But,
You know,
but for
take
the
the
score
class.
portion, we're not going to be punitive, and if someone doesn't have a full month on one program or the other, that portion will be overridden and the bonus will be awarded.
Will it record sound?
There will be audio turned on when an event goes off, right? So very similar to when we rolled out Smart Drive. So when an event goes off, there will be corresponding audio.
Have we considered, this is from one of our folks here, will all the positive monitoring, or with all the positive monitoring, is that possibly going to come with extra bonuses for good drivers?
So, hey, we are, as we roll this out, we are sticking with the same bonus program and the same requirements. But as you know, that's changed over the years. Again, this is an area we're very transparent about. I would say this, we are very excited about the positive recognition functionality because we know how applicable that is to so many drivers in our fleet. So, not going to say nothing's possible, but just want to be very transparent and clear right now. There's no plans to deviate from kind of the core of the program that we have.
So Kelly's asking, will it be as sensitive with the bumps like ours is now?
Well, you got to keep in mind that this is not a trigger-based system. So what Kelly may be referring to is there's a jolt and the camera senses that and can trigger. So just that in by itself, just the way the camera works, it's different, right? This is machine vision, artificial intelligence. That's not to say the camera doesn't also still have a sensor in it, but likely you would not see the same thing you've seen with Smart Drive.
I guess we should maybe clarify too, like Netradyne is just the camera piece, so it's not necessarily your collision mitigation or your Bendix system or any of those, so it's not.
Yeah.
I guess we just want to clarify there, it's just that.
Yeah, this is
camera
a
system.
third-party piece of
Yeah.
equipment, not installed
Yeah.
by the OEM, by the
Okay.
equipment manufacturer.
Will the camera look, Steve's asking, will the camera look at the driver's steering wheel?
The steering wheel on the driver's side can very well be in view. So
But
there's,
It's
Yeah.
not the whole steering wheel, like
Right.
clear down to here, right?
yeah, again, picture
looking out
the
the
cameras
side
on the
window.
windshield, and we've got some examples of those already on our Facebook page. But yeah, the camera will be affixed to the windshield, and then you'll have a view looking at the passenger side, view looking at the driver's side, and then road facing.
Okay. Owners, I know you're wanting me to get to you too, but let's finish a few other questions. What is the projected date of installation? And is it for just company drivers, or I think we'll get to the owners.
Yeah.
So it's,
Yeah, so I'd say right now we're targeting the back half of 2025 essentially. So we've got, I think, some work to do on integrations and a little bit more testing and stuff like that to do, and then we're going to start in the back half of 2025 and then the beginning of 2026. So there's going to be a lot more communication, training that comes out, probably some more live events, and then we'll be very transparent on what that timeline looks like for you and your line of business. But targeting back half of 2025.
did one of our, or a handful of our drivers already test this, and what do they think?
Yes, so we've tested this. I would say one of KNX's fleets, bar none, tested it. Their entire fleet is equipped with it, and then we've also had in-house a handful of Swift drivers that have tested it for the last really like two years.
Yeah,
2
varying
years.
models of the camera. For,
Yeah,
about 2
yeah, and so we've been gathering feedback from them, for quite a bit of time,
And ourselves as well. Both Jules and
Yeah.
I had a Netradyne camera in as well.
Yeah,
But
I know, that's a
Did you
different.
did you ever have to coach David?
I think, well, I mean, just like anything, when you get something new, you have a little bit of a learning curve to work with. But I'll say, yeah, I mean, I liked it a lot. It's a different use case, obviously, in a personal vehicle than a commercial vehicle. But
Yeah.
it's great. And
It'd
we
be
had,
interesting. I might give it a try. All right. Will drivers be able to review their videos?
absolutely. So we will be linking, through the Point app, access to the Driver Eye app. which is Netradyne's driver application. You'll be able to see videos, score, where you rank within your fleet. So some really cool functionality. And again, we'll have a whole Swift U class actually just on the Driver Eye app, so that everyone can kind of familiarize with themselves with it. But it's pretty cool.
Do we have an idea of how long the installation will take?
Yeah, the swap out of the smart drive and the Netradyne, and then the install of the Netradyne camera is going to be roughly an hour.
About an hour?
Yeah.
Okay.
So similar to Geotab, maybe a little bit more.
So Kendrick's asking, how long will the audio last after the event happened?
It's so
I'm guessing that if it's hearing sound, so if I get in a collision, we'd have the audio, right?
correct. Yeah. So it's that period of time, which is going to be 30 seconds before the event, 30 seconds after.
Okay. Perfect. Now let's get to the owners. So people are asking, so will owners be required to have it?
Well, so owner-operators that are on the Mojave FISDAM insurance policy, we will be moving to this Netradyne system. But as most of our owners know, there's an option for outside FISDAM insurance in which this would not be required.
So I think this is what Charlie's asking as a contractor. Can I get one of these systems from Swift but not be monitored by Swift?
Is that
Charlie?
Charlie?
Our buddy Charlie Mahone.
What's up,
You can
Charlie?
tell. So that we need to discuss a little bit further, but you can tell Charlie I'll call him personally.
Okay.
We'll have that conversation.
And if we end up swapping out the other unit, will that cost be taken care of?
Yes, we will be.
So-
If you have the smart drive unit, we will put it in the Netradyne system.
Okay. Can owners just purchase a smart drive and stay on that?
So there will be an avenue for that. We would have to then move that smart drive off of our account into a smart drive reseller. So it's a possibility. Our desire will be to move to the Netradyne system. It's a little bit easier, certainly, for us to manage.
Okay. Let's see here. Glenn says, instead of this type of camera system, why don't we just get factory mirror systems? I think I've seen some mirror systems that look down the trailer, but that you would still need a forward facing, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I guess I'd have to just understand that a little bit more. Are you talking about like the driver?
There's mirror systems that go down, just like in some of the cars
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
That's not a forward facing, and we mitigate a lot of our issues, right? Because there are four-wheelers that come and slam on the brakes or they cut us off. So
absolutely.
these camera systems are truly for us, Swift, and the driver's protection.
Yeah, no, I think, to make no mistake about that, it's been a tremendous investment for us, both from a, kind of accident vindication standpoint, but also just a coaching and development. And hey, if we have drivers for us that don't feel that we're very invested in coaching and development, we need to continue to double down, because that is what we talk about all the time with our fleets and our driver leaders and our fleet leaders. But and on that point, Ken, talking about with accidents, one of the most common on-road accidents that we see is we get sideswiped by another trailer moving into us, and that's why this wider angle lens going out the passenger side, the driver's side, is so important, because in many of those cases the other vehicle never stops, they continue on their way. We might have $1,500 worth of damage, and we just have to eat that cost. Now we feel like we're going to have a much better ability to subrogate that cost to those that caused that accident.
Somebody that's coming into our lane
Absolutely.
or doing the wrong thing.
Absolutely.
Can AI monitor the driver without the camera?
No.
Yeah, I don't know of anything.
No, not our system. No.
Yeah, and with the cap over the inward facing, it's not even going to be able to see them anyways.
All right, and then how is this supposed to help drivers be safer? Now, that's kind of a basic question. I know you touched on this a little more, but just one of the questions that popped up.
Yeah, I will say one of the first things is, like I mentioned earlier, the audible alerts in cab. That puts kind of that ability for you to interact immediately right in front of you. You're going to know immediately. It's not some blinking light that you're going to find out in a day or two what happened there and what event got triggered. Like, it's going to tell you and give you an opportunity right there. And I think that's how you build safe habits, is you just get used to doing something, and it makes sense. So I think that's one thing. And then also just the capability we're going to have for you to be able to see those videos, see what's contributing to your score, the app on the tablets. I think there's just going to be a lot more visibility there that helps you understand your own driving behaviors, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Excellent. David's asking, will the center sun visor in the Kenworth block the side view cams when it's down?
It shouldn't. We should be able to affix the camera where that's not an issue.
Leo, you asked like 7 questions in yours, so one of us will follow up with you on yours, but let's just hit the first one.
Okay.
Drivers overwhelmingly seem against cameras these days, or at least in some of these chat groups, Facebook, all of that. What do you think is the reason?
Well, what I would say, and Jules definitely chime in on this, I wouldn't necessarily want to speculate, because actually a lot of the feedback I've had personally with a lot of our drivers is the opposite of that. I think we've deployed cameras here for over a decade at this point. So this is nothing new. We've seen the ROI. We've got many testimonials from some of our best drivers on how this has changed habits in terms of following distance and speeding and controlling space around the vehicle. So I think my viewpoint on that would be a little bit different, but culturally, we do want to be very transparent, and I think that has been front and center of this. I mean, we're talking about Netradyne, and keep in mind, this is a couple months out, right? And there's going to be much more communication going on. But then just in terms of how the system works. But so the other piece, though, that I want to hit on with that being the perspective, keep in mind that the newest functionality we're deploying here is this positive recognition feedback loop, which in my opinion, nobody in the telematics space does this better than Netradyne. They have really doubled down on their efforts here, and I believe are committed to finding even more things for positive recognition, right? And so, when you take a lot of pride in your job, as I think the vast majority of our professional truck drivers do, that matters to you. Like, you take it personally when someone's criticizing your driving and whatnot, but you do have to separate that aside. What I would ask all of our drivers is, hey, do I have opportunity to improve my following distance? Do I have opportunity to improve my speed? And when we see that as other leaders in the organization and our coaches, yeah, we're going to coach on that, and we're going to incentivize that, because we know what kind of results that leads to. We know how much is on the line when you're operating on public roadways. So,
Excellent. Will we be able to have the app on our phone for Netradyne?
Yeah, and it should work the same. I don't want to compare it to GeoTab, because obviously 2 very different things, but it should work in a similar way. You're going to be able to single sign on through the Point app, so as long as you've got both apps on your phone, you should be able to just use the single sign on functionality there, just the same way you would in the tablet. We've got some development to go there, and that's why we're targeting the back half of 2025, but in theory and in the way we'd like to go, it's going to work just that same way.
Okay. And it will be on the tablet too, right?
Correct. Yep.
Okay. Will mentors be the first to get the system?
We don't have it broken out necessarily by mentors. I think we'll have a rollout strategy as we get closer to the back half of 2025, but it's not going to be necessarily specifically mentors first or anything like that.
We're down to our last question here. Jeremy's asking, is there a human override? Is a human watching the video, or is it another automatic computer deciding the incident?
Yeah, so it'll still come back into the office, and so because there's still going to be coaching if an event gets triggered, we haven't responded to the audible alerts in cab, things like that. But there are options for the folks in the back office. If it's a misgenerated alert, it shouldn't have happened in the first place. We can change it to a driver star if your actions actually stopped us from being involved in a collision. Like, there's a lot of different options on the back end for us to be able to look at those events.
Yeah, there's a human element to it.
Yeah.
We're not
Always good to have a
thinking about it.
discussion with your leader, right?
And that's exactly it. Yeah, we're still going to, just that same culture we have around coaching now, I think this takes it even further. But yeah, this isn't, This isn't taking the driver out of the conversation. That would be senseless,
Yeah.
right? So,
Well, and I think, if I remember correctly, even on our Facebook group, I saw that one of our testers even posted. So if you're curious, go back and look through those threads. But there's actually one of, they're driving by a truck and something comes flying off the trailer, but it's kind of over here by the side mirror, and we caught it because it did have that side-facing camera. So
Yeah.
you can see, there's been other questions about the steering wheel and other things like that. You can really see what that video looks like.
yeah. Yep.
Okay. Well, here, one just popped in last minute. Okay, how sensitive is the new camera? For instance, if we stop at a stop sign versus behind a stop sign, or if we are doing 60 in a 55 mile per hour zone, does the camera's parameters that sensitive that we get dinged? Kind of three different questions there, but
Let me try to kind of hit that one. So stop signs, obviously, it's just looking for a full and complete stop, right? So that's, I mean, I don't know.
and it gives you positive, right? If you stop at 10 in a row or
Yes.
20 in a row.
Yeah,
or-
so you can get a streak there if you make a stop at, I think it's 75 consecutive stop signs or something, which would be tough in my car, but for you, I mean, that's an everyday occurrence. And so you can get streaks for those things and get those bonus points that make your score a little bit better. And then the other one was what, speeding? So if it recognizes in you pass a speed limit sign and you're speeding, kind of like the same thing I said there, it'll give you the audible alert, give you a chance to slow down and correct that before it ever generates an alert. And if you slow down to the speed limit, no alert's going to get
So if
generated.
we see a reaction, that's good.
Yeah, that's
what
what
we're
we
looking
want.
for.
And hey, we will definitely be coaching on
Yeah.
following the speed limit,
Yeah.
right? So, yeah,
Yeah,
we want to be transparent about that.
All right.
ball's in your court first.
Lots of good things. We're sure we're going to probably have a few more of these.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's beginning of April. We've got about 3 months to where we expect a larger scale deployment, but we will have some going in this quarter, and we'll kind of continue to communicate that. But Swift U training courses coming out, probably more lives like we're talking about, internal posts and communication. And then, of course, if you have questions, certainly continue to send them in, whether that's voice your choice or some of these other areas, and we'll be very responsive.
All GeoTab installs were going to be done by May is what I'm telling everybody. Is that correct?
I think we're still on
That's
track
the-
for that.
yeah, that's the goal.
Yeah.
So then we
Yeah.
can start with this.
We're at about
Netradyne in
75%.
June?
75% of the fleet at this point. So.
All right.
Yeah.
Excellent. Great news.
Yep.
All right. Well, that's all I have for today. For questions for you guys, appreciate you joining us on such short notice. There was a lot of questions when that news article went out, which, hey, we understand. So drop any other things in the chat that you would like to have additional lives on in the near future. Otherwise, we appreciate you very much, and please be safe.
Take care.
Thanks, everybody.